as I trudged through the knee-deep snow. The biting wind stung my face like 1,000 needles. The vast expanse of white stretched before me like an endless shroud. And for a moment, I felt like I was the only person left in the world. But then, I saw her, a figure in the distance, bundled up in furs and wool, walking towards me with a purposeful stride. My heart sank as I recognized the determined glint in her eye. It was Allure, my former expedition partner. We had parted ways 3 years ago, after a disastrous expedition to the lost city of Zerzura. I had lost my brother in that fateful journey, and the guilt and grief had consumed me ever since. Allure had been the one who had convinced me to join her on that ill-fated quest, and I had never forgiven her for it. Yet, here she was, walking towards me with a warm smile on her face. I felt a surge of anger and resentment, but I pushed it down, curiosity getting the better of me. As we drew closer, Alure's smile faltered for a moment, and I saw a flicker of something else in her eyes, a hint of desperation. Perhaps. But it was quickly replaced by her usual confidence. And she grasped my arm, pulling me into a warm hug. "It's been too long, old friend," she said, her voice husky from the cold. I returned the hug, feeling a pang of nostalgia for the camaraderie we had once shared. We walked together for a while, Allure regaling me with stories of her latest adventures. But as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the snow, I started to feel a growing sense of unease. There was something off about Alure's stories, something that didn't quite add up. And then, I remembered the letter she had sent me a few weeks ago, inviting me to join her on a new expedition to the fabled Crystal Caves. I had been hesitant at first, but something about her words had resonated with me, a promise of redemption. Perhaps. As we set up camp for the night, Alure's words began to take on a different tone. She spoke of the Crystal Caves with a fervor that bordered on obsession. And I started to realize that she was hiding something from me. I pressed her for answers, but she evaded my questions, her eyes glinting with a knowing light. It was then that I saw it, a small, leather-bound book peeking out of her pack. I recognized the symbol on the cover. It was the mark of the Order of the Black Rose, a secret society rumored to be obsessed with the dark arts. A chill ran down my spine as I realized the truth. Allure had been using me all along. She had manipulated me into joining her on this expedition, not for redemption, but for some darker purpose. I felt a wave of anger and betrayal wash over me, but it was quickly replaced by a sense of sadness. I had been so blinded by my own guilt and grief that I had let myself be deceived. As the night wore on, I made a decision. I would not continue on this expedition. Not with Allure, and not with the Order of the Black Rose. I would take a different path, one that would lead me away from the darkness that had consumed me for so long. I stood up, my eyes locked on Alure's, and I saw the faintest glimmer of fear in her eyes. She knew that I had seen through her deception, and she knew that I would not be swayed. The wind howled around us, and the snow swirled in eddies, as if the very wilderness itself was warning me away from this path. But I stood firm, my heart heavy with the weight of my realization. I turned my back on Allure, and on the darkness that had haunted me for so long. I walked away, into the unknown, the snow crunching beneath my feet like a promise of redemption.